Okay, I know you saw the title, but before you get mad at me, this video is lighthearted. I just want to chat about some brands that are maybe in their flop era. These are brands that I kind of want to see more from. Maybe I have a vision for like some future products I could see from them or a direction I would prefer to see them go. So we will talk through that while I apply these products to my face. Normally I start with my face and then go into the eyes, but today we're gonna move backwards so we can start with the eyes using a palette from KELLYG Cosmetics. I think this brand is probably no surprise, but this is, what is this palette called? Doesn't even say anywhere on the palette, does it? Well, you wouldn't know because it's not written on the palette, but this is called the Bronze Palette. And funny enough, I have a love-hate relationship with this palette. I really enjoy the mattes in here, but there are 3 shimmers in this palette that I think are horrible. Like truly one of the worst shimmer formulas I've used. That's dramatic, But I find that the shimmers kind of disappear and don't really blend out, but I'm gonna start with the shade Tell Me More, and we're gonna work this into my crease. I did already prime my eyelids before starting, but I'm just gonna start building this up. And I'm thinking I wanna go for a bronzy look today, maybe kind of inspired by latte art makeup. What was I gonna say? Latte art, latte makeup, but probably a bit warmer than what we've seen with the latte makeup trend. But KELLYG Cosmetics, okay. So this brand I have so many thoughts on, and I actually did a full video about the downfall, if you will, of KELLYG Cosmetics, so I can leave that link down below. I did that in my Rise and Fall series. Now, I actually like some formulas from KELLYG Cosmetics. I don't think they're like horrible quality as a brand, but I just haven't necessarily seen them evolve and launch anything new and exciting in a while. I really view KELLYG Cosmetics as a celebrity brand that just rides on the name. When you compare it to something like Fenty or Rare Beauty, I feel like those are also celebrity brands, but they've really established themselves as high performance, good products, good packaging. I feel like they're brands that could stand alone even without being backed by that celebrity, but I don't know that KELLYG Cosmetics has had the same experience. And especially with the rebrand, which I went super in depth with on the KELLY video, I can leave it linked, but after they rebranded, they had to reformulate everything because they were being sued by Seed, which was the brand incubator that started KELLY and also started KKW, also started ColourPop. But when KELLYG Cosmetics was acquired by Coty, there was this huge lawsuit, and they had to allegedly reformulate everything because Seed didn't want those formulas going to Coty. And I felt like that was the perfect time for the brand to really like rebrand and do something new. And they made it seem like they were going to. They were like, we're rebranding, we're reformulating everything. But then when they relaunched, all of the products and the packaging pretty much looked the same. The formulas were kind of the same. I mean, now they're all vegan, which is wonderful, but I felt like that was the perfect opportunity for them to undergo a complete rebrand, and it just seemed like a huge missed opportunity to me. Okay, I'm taking this kind of like warmer, almost terracotta brown called Mocha Latte, and I'm keeping it right at the lash line and just adding a little bit of definition to the outer corner. I'm skipping eyeliner and going straight in with mascara. This is from CoverGirl, another brand that I feel is very much in their flop era, also surprisingly owned by Coty actually, but this is one of their newest launches. This is called the Lash Blast Cleantopia Mascara. I didn't really like this. I have mine in the shade brown. I've seen a lot of buzz about this, but not necessarily a lot of like organic buzz about this. I would say I've actually just seen a lot of ads for it. I wanted to love this mascara, but it's definitely a very natural look on the lashes, which I tend to enjoy. But I find that this formulation is a little more wet than I want it to be, so it just leaves my lashes like stick straight. I know I didn't curl them beforehand, but even when I do curl them beforehand with this, it like straightens them right back out because of the formula. At least that's what I find in my experience. And don't get me wrong, I like a very natural look from a mascara, but I want it to be natural and like wispy and pretty. This just, I don't know. I don't think it does my lashes any favors. And with CoverGirl, I feel like they're a brand at the drugstore that I see so much potential from. Like they could really be such a big, like I could see them on the same level as an e.l.f. And yet I'm usually kind of underwhelmed by CoverGirl launches. It feels like a lot of things that they bring out are a little bit delayed. They're not necessarily right on top of the trends. And to be honest, like that makes sense. A lot of these brands don't have the ability to come out with products as quickly as someone like a ColourPop. Whereas a bigger brand like CoverGirl, like some of these launches could take months, years in development. And so it always seems to be the case. And I would say that rings true for a lot of the brands we're going to talk about in this video, where a lot of their launches, by the time we finally get what we want from that brand, it's kind of like not as trendy anymore. With CoverGirl though, I'm sure they honestly are still doing well solely through sales of the Lash Blast mascara. I feel like that's been a cult favorite for years. I would guess that's kind of their hero product, and it makes sense. They come out with a million versions of it. Like this is the latest Lash Blast version. But with something like mascara, I'm sure CoverGirl just has continuous sales in that even without having to launch like brand new exciting products. They have a really popular, affordable mascara at the drugstore, and people repurchase mascara every 3 or so months. So I'm sure just on the sales of the mascara alone, they're probably doing fine. Okay, let's go to base now, and we're gonna talk about Smashbox, okay? We're going to apply the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer. Smashbox is another one. Honestly, like a lot of brands we'll talk about in this video, I'm sure Smashbox is actually doing fine. And I really think of Smashbox as, okay, don't judge me. I know I just put that directly onto my skin and wiped it on my face. I know, probably not sanitary, but Smashbox I think of more so as an artistry brand. I feel like I think of a lot of professionals using Smashbox, but back in the day, in like the heyday of beauty YouTube in like 2016, I feel like Smashbox was that girl. All of the primers, lots of like the base products. I feel like Smashbox was talked about a lot. And Smashbox for me these days is kind of a forgettable brand. Like I don't even necessarily think of them. And even when I was doing this video and I was picking out my flop brands, I had actually forgotten about Smashbox, and then last minute I was like, oh yeah, Smashbox exists. They're not a brand I really think of anymore. But I feel like I could see them having a big comeback. Honestly, with a lot of these brands, I see that. And I feel like Smashbox really excels in complexion and base products. And now that there has been such a big emphasis on lighter coverage foundations, I could see Smashbox doing really well with that. I know they just launched their like halo tinted moisturizer, but I still didn't hear a ton about that. Ooh, you know what used to be so popular from Smashbox? You remember the spray, the primer water? I just feel like Smashbox was everything like 8 years ago, and now I hear nothing about them. Okay. We're going to talk about one of my favorite brands. This one pains me, but it is Bare Minerals. So I'm going to use the Bare Minerals Matte Original Powder Foundation, but the shade match is so bad for me that I'm gonna have to mix it with a different powder foundation. So the one I'm gonna mix it with is from Plain Jane. I've been using this so much lately. This is their foundation powder. I would say these formulas are quite similar. Price point between the two is actually quite similar once you break down like cost per gram. So if you like this, I would also recommend this. Plain Jane is a small black owned indie brand, so definitely recommend. So I have Bare Minerals in the shade Light 08, which is just far too dark for me. So I'm going to mix a little bit of both into the cap. Now, I am just waiting for powder foundation to have its moment, because I have always been a huge powder foundation lover, but lately I have been really falling back in love with powder foundation. And even on my dry skin, I think this always looks nice and it is so effortless. So the brush I'm gonna use is the BK Beauty 106, and I'm gonna like really load up my brush, kind of just like get the product into the bristles. Now, normally I will do circular motions, but lately I have just been tapping it in, and I've kind of been preferring that. Now, it's going to give you a very different effect. This is definitely going to result in much more sheer level of coverage, but I have been into lighter coverage recently. So lately, I have just been loading up this brush and tapping into my skin. I've actually mostly been using this Plain Jane one, like honestly almost every day lately. I've had this for years, but I've been really falling back in love with it. Now, for Bare Minerals. Bare Minerals is one of my favorite brands, even still, even though I don't think they get a lot of buzz here in the beauty space. I think they are a wonderful brand with quality formulas that really have stood the test of time. It's funny, a lot of foundations that I loved years ago, if I come back to the formula now, I'm not as impressed as I used to be. And I'm like, okay, wow, we've seen so many better improvements in foundation formulas that this doesn't really hold up anymore. That has never been the case for me with the original Bare Minerals powder foundation. It is a classic. I think it looks good on everyone. I think on every skin type, whether you have oily skin or dry skin, especially because the original comes in matte and the original one. I just think it's beautiful. Now, like I said, normally it's recommended that you buff into the skin because that's when it kind of creates that emollient, almost creamy liquid foundation finish. But lately I have just been enjoying tapping in, and I still really like the result of this. I think it comes down to the brush. You need something quite dense, but Bare Minerals, even though we don't hear a lot of buzz about them, I'm quite confident that they are doing fine. There is no part of me that's like, oh, Bare Minerals might be the next brand to go out of business. No, I don't see that coming. I think with a lot of these brands, they have a hero product that people continue to repurchase, and I think they will be fine. Like I said, for CoverGirl, with their Lash Blast, people are repurchasing those every few months. With the original Bare Minerals foundation, I still know so many people, like that's their holy grail. That's all they use, and that's something that you use up and eventually you need to repurchase. But I do think that, like, I just want to see Bare Minerals have its moment. And I don't think Bare Minerals cares that much because like I said, I think they're probably doing fine. But with all of the emphasis on like the clean look, minimal makeup, just the way we've watched makeup trends evolve in the last few years, I really think the style of products that Bare Minerals launches is so conducive to the makeup aesthetic that's so big right now that I just am waiting for Bare Minerals to have its like blow up moment and everyone to be loving on their launches, and we haven't seen that yet. I mean, the bronzer, which is like my favorite blush, definitely got some buzz, but I'm over here like, I love Bare Minerals. I think they have such great products. Okay, let me show you my trick for concealing. So that's the question I get a lot. Like when you're using a powder foundation, what are you doing for concealer? Are you using a powder? Are you using a liquid? So I would say there's two routes you could go. You could do a liquid first and then do the powder over top. Or what I like to do is take a small brush. This is from e.l.f.'s collab with Dunkin' Donuts. It's like very small, domed, and dense. And I take this, take a little bit of powder on it, and then use that to spot conceal. So I'm gonna apply this to my under eyes. Now keep in mind, this is definitely gonna give you a lighter level of coverage. If you're looking for a lot more, I would recommend going in with the liquid first and then applying the powder foundation over top. But see, there's the difference. And I also am gonna take this and spot conceal if I have, like, right here I have an acne scar. Right here I have a giant pimple, but it's like hidden enough on my jawline that I'm like, it's okay. I don't need to really conceal that one. See, I just love the way that looks. I think powder foundation in person looks just so natural and not powdery as long as you like prep the skin well beforehand. Okay, for bronzer, we have to talk about the Balm. The Balm, once again, they were like that brand a few years back. So we're gonna use the Take Home the Bronze bronzer. Like these especially were super popular. I have mine in the lightest shade, which is called Oliver. The Balm has the cutest packaging, as we know. And the Mary Luminizer, oh my gosh, I feel like that was all of our first highlighter. Whenever I will mention the Mary Luminizer on my channel, I'll get comments like, oh my gosh, it was my first highlight, it was my favorite. And the Balm, probably like a decade ago, was just such a popular brand in the beauty space. Like their packaging is so cute. Their price is a lot more approachable. They're a high-end brand, but they don't sit at as high of a price point as a lot of like Sephora brands. They're definitely a little more mid-tier, which I also think made them a lot more approachable and had people really excited about them. But I haven't seen anything from the Balm. Like there was a minute there that I thought they were kind of just slowly fading out of business. I also have noticed they've been doing a lot of sales lately. Like, I don't know. I really like the Balm, and I want to see them have this like huge comeback moment, especially because people love cute packaging. Like I did a whole video about that recently. I can leave it linked down below. It was like, is it good or is it just cute? And the balm fits so well into that. Like all of their products are beautiful. They're like little art pieces. Like I just love the vibe of this. And I want the balm to have their comeback. I really do. And I could see that for them. Like, can we talk about how dewy I look even though I am only wearing powders, okay? For blush, Too Faced. So I'm going to use the Love Flush blush, but these were actually reformulated. This is the original formula from like a very long time ago. So the new ones, they don't even have this shade anymore, but the shade I have is called I Will Always Love You. And I like that this is peach because I've been into peach blushes a lot lately, but this formula, so that's another example of, at the time I thought it was really good, but now that we have had so many launches since then, I don't think it holds up as well. Keep in mind though, I'm talking about the old formula. They have reformulated this themselves, but with this, whenever I go to wear it, I'm like, it's a little more sparkly than I want it to be. Like, I like that it has a glow, but I think it almost looks too sparkly on my cheeks, you know? They love to just like recycle the same things over and over again. The only thing I've seen them launch recently that I've actually been really excited about is the brown version of the Better Than Sex mascara, but I'm only excited because it's a brown mascara. Like, I don't even think the Better Than Sex mascara is that great of a formula, but I like the shade of brown that they went with for that, because a lot of brands that do brown mascara, they're kind of just like a light black, whereas Too Faced actually gave us a legit brown, which I love. Funny enough, even though I only used powders, I'm a little more shiny than I want to be, so I'm going to take another brand that I feel like is kind of in their flop era. This is Pure Cosmetics. And this is also powder foundation, but I'm just gonna take some on a powder puff because this formula is a bit more matte. And I'm gonna apply it right in this area to kind of smooth everything out, and then tap it along my forehead to get rid of any shine. Oh, the blush. I used to love this blush so much, but now I feel like it just makes my cheeks look so textured. I don't know. Don't like this blush. I might declutter it soon, maybe. Okay, for brows, I don't necessarily have a brow brand that I think is like flopping, but I want to use my NYX brow marker. This is called the Lift and Snatch. Actually, NYX is a brand who I feel like we're almost in a little flop era for a minute there, but lately I've been a bit more excited about their launches. I did a best and worst of NYX recently. I can leave it linked down below, but I really want to see NYX come out with all new cheek products. Like, I want them to come out with a whole line of like bronzers, blush, highlights, whether that is cream or powder. I would prefer powder because I love powder cheek products, but I feel like honestly a line of cream cheek products would probably do best. Okay, added a little bit of lip liner, so we could go in with Urban Decay for lipstick. This is the Vice lipstick in the shade Liar. They reformulated the Vice lipsticks a few years ago, and I liked the old ones better. Like, I miss the old ones. This is fine. It's not bad, but Urban Decay, man, they are another brand I have a video on, like the rise and fall of Urban Decay. I keep waiting for them to have this huge comeback because I think like they really excel in complexion products, which have been so big lately. Funny enough, like the trends haven't really been like launching eyeshadow palettes. And yes, in terms of eyeshadow palettes, Urban Decay has been a bit boring for a while, but they make really great complexion products. Like, they make some of my favorite foundations. They're discontinuing the Stay Naked, which criminal. That is like the best foundation. But Urban Decay has some good products, but I just feel like, I don't know, they keep trying to launch new naked palettes, which is fine, but I feel like where they really excel is complexion, and like, much like NYX, I want to see Urban Decay come out with new blushes, bronzers, highlights. Like, they come out with a decent amount of things and like a frequent rotation, but it's never the product I want them to come out with. I'm like, oh, another naked palette. Where is the reformulated blushes, you know? Okay, aside from the blush, I don't like the way the blush looks, but I actually really like this makeup look. If you're wondering, the lip liner that I'm wearing is from NYX. It's the shade Nutmeg, and then the lip is Liar. I feel like this is kind of another take on latte makeup, maybe a bit more bronzy warm than latte makeup, but I really like the way this turned out. Let me know your thoughts on these brands. You know, it was lighthearted. I still have favorites from all of these, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.